The source of the noise is revealed to be Akaza. Akaza tells the demon slayers, "Long time no see. I'm surprised a weakling like you is still alive," causing Tanjiro to yell his opponent's name back. Tanjiro has begun to engage Akaza in a fight. Tanjiro narrowly escapes the blow by using Hinokami Kagura, Fire Wheel, to whip over Akaza. Now behind him, Tanjiro wills himself to slice Akaza's arm off and successfully manages to do so, but is swiftly attacked when Akaza manages to regenerate his arm to his advantage. Tanjiro narrowly avoids his attack by using Hinokami Kagura, Fake Rainbow, and slices Akaza across the face in the process. Akaza regenerates his cut while he stares stunned at Tanjiro's ability. After witnessing this small scuffle, Giyu stands amazed at Tanjiro's techniques, thinking of how his ability is equal to that of a Hashira's. He recalls the snowy day when they first met and how all he could do was beg for his sister's life. Compared to now, Tanjiro can fight without losing his life or dignity. Akaza recalls the final words spoken to him by Kyojuro: "This boy isn't weak, do not insult him," and acknowledges Tanjiro's strength, informing him of his newfound respect for him. Akaza then begins initiating his technique development to fight Tanjiro in a serious manner. Giyu uses water breathing, third form, flowing dance to maneuver around Akaza. Then latter recognizes him as the water Hashira and states it has been 50 years since he last faced a Hashira who used water breathing. Then Akaza uses destructive death, disorder disrupting movement, forcing Giyu to use water breathing 11th form, dead calm, to negate the attack. The upper moon mentions the last water Hashira he faced never used such a form. Tanjiro appears from behind using Hinokami Kagura, raging sun, to slash at Akaza's neck, only for the blow to miss and for the demon to appear behind him instead, about to punch through his neck. When Giyu saves him by slicing off Akaza's arm using water breathing second form, water wheel, Akaza's arm grows back nearly instantly, and Giyu quickly attacks again, followed by Tanjiro using Hinokami Kagura, flame dance. Akaza sees him trying to slice his foot and uses his leg type, crouch splitter, knocking the demon slayers away. Tanjiro tries to parry with his blade, and though he nearly comes out unscathed, Akaza's leg catches Tanjiro's nose slightly, causing him to bleed heavily from the sheer force. Tanjiro crouches down to soak up the pain, leading Giyu to face Akaza alone. Akaza compliments his opponent's sword and asks for his name, only to be denied as Giyu tells him that he does not have a name to tell the demon and that he hates talking, so do not bother. The demon happily responds that he will continually ask him until he gives in, using leg type, explosive flurry, to hit his blade handle, knocking the Hashira away through several walls. Tanjiro sees the impact and calls out to Giyu, only for Akaza to appear alongside him, excited now that he knows his opponent's name. The two swing at each other, and Tanjiro uses Hinokami Kagura, Burning Bones, Summer Sun, with Akaza deploying his destructive death, 8-layered demon core, in retaliation. Akaza survives the clash unscathed while Tanjiro is forced back, slamming into the wall. Akaza compliments his moves and for training so much in a short period of time. He praises Kyojuro Rengoku for the day of their battle, as Tanjiro was a weakling lying down that night. Now, however, he sees Tanjiro's growth in battle and is excited to face him. Akaza voices his gratitude at Kyojuro's death, as he believes he would have never become stronger than that day, also insulting his belief to remain human. Tanjiro hears these words and, remembering Kyojuro, Shinjuro, and Senjuro, becomes enraged, telling him to stop insulting the former flame Hashira. Akaza is confused, retorting that he is praising the two, while Tanjiro only tells him he is insulting Kyojuro, as well as hating anyone who faces him. The demon claims Tanjiro is misunderstanding, as he only hates the weak. He states that the laws of nature dictate the weak to be eliminated. The demon slayer responds back that the upper rank himself is the product of his wrong views, as he himself was once weak as well and became powerful. Tanjiro yells that the strong protect their weak, then the weak get stronger and help those weaker than themselves, calling it the true laws of nature. He calls Akaza's beliefs unforgivable and voices that he will not let him do as he likes any further. Facing off against Tanjiro, Akaza cannot brush aside the unpleasant feeling Tanjiro gives him. He is unsure why he feels angry fighting him, since he believes Tanjiro is no longer weak, yet he cannot shake the feeling of Tanjiro's eyes, voice, and words cutting into him. At that moment, someone grabs Akaza's shoulder and confirms Tanjiro's words. The person says that while one starts off weak and gets help from everyone around them, one should only compare their progress against themselves, not others. The man tells Akaza that the only thing important is becoming stronger than he was yesterday, and soon he can be the one to help people. Angered, Akaza tries to punch behind him to hit the man, but strikes nothing. Tanjiro sees Akaza punch the air. Suddenly, Akaza angrily mutters, "Tanjiro, you really are extremely unpleasant." Akaza uses destructive death-crushing type 10,000 leaves flashing willow and ruptures the ground around him, with Tanjiro just barely dodging the attack. As he becomes stunned by Akaza's new speed, the demon quickly engages the demon slayer from below and uses his destructive death leg type flying planet thousand wheels. Tanjiro takes the attack and vomits as a result. He tries to resist, wondering how Akaza manages to nearly hit him with every move. All of Akaza's strikes seem to aim for his vital areas, and his attacks seem attracted to them. Tanjiro thinks back to when the demon deployed his technique deployment compass needle, but before he can figure it out, he dodges to the side to escape an oncoming kick. Tanjiro uses the Hinokami Kagura, solar heat haze, but only manages to cut halfway through Akaza's neck, which Akaza heals instantly. However, the upper moon is curious as to how the tip manages to appear hazy before hitting him, asking the demon slayer how he did it. As Tanjiro attempts to use his Hinokami Kagura fire wheel, Akaza catches the blade in his hands. Startled that Akaza will attempt to break it, Tanjiro instantly headbutts the demon, but does not injure Akaza at all. He attempts to kick him, but Akaza continues to grasp the sword. Suddenly, Akaza's hands are sliced off, freeing Tanjiro and his sword as Giyu returns, stating that he's angered at the searing pain in his back and sarcastically thanking the upper moon for blasting him through several walls. As Giyu and Akaza face each other, Giyu comments on the reason he fights. He doesn't want to battle to the best of his ability, and he doesn't like battles where opponents continually swing for fun, but now he had to face someone who overwhelmed him with his first clash. Giyu states that Akaza's senses are all finely tuned and polished. His own senses are now switched on to a state where only the strong battle, and he finally understands that the moments of life in a battle truly test someone's abilities. Tanjiro watches as Giyu unlocks his Demon Slayer mark. He rushes towards Akaza and swings the blade, just missing Akaza's neck. Akaza tries to punch his head off, but the Hashira ducks down and swings again, with the demon bending back to escape the strike. Akaza realizes that Giyu's mark has appeared and his speed has now increased. Giyu uses water-breathing fourth form striking tide and slices through Akaza's forearm. However, Akaza attacked as well and struck the side of Giyu's head. Tanjiro watches the battle, commenting on how Giyu and Akaza are now virtually as fast as each other. Akaza had immediately matched Giyu's newfound power. He knows that in a battle of stamina, humans will lose, and despite this battle taking place, the final goal is to beat Muzan. Tanjiro tries to think how Akaza's attacks managed to be so accurate, and how he can also predict attacks he doesn't see. He immediately remembers the moments Akaza mentioned battle spirit in the battle with Kyojuro. He attempts to define it and recalls the conversation he had with Inosuke. Inosuke claims that battle spirit feels like a stinging sensation where the enemy is aiming for. Tanjiro believes it to be the reason Inosuke could notice Gyutaro's attacks. Inosuke is asked to demonstrate, and he asks Tanjiro to look at a part of his body, which he accurately determines as his right shoulder. As Tanjiro becomes amazed, Inosuke notes that when someone is looking at him with a murderous gaze, it is easier to determine when they will attack, and his whole body will sting if that said attack really wants to kill him. However, he becomes angered that someone looking at him without the intent to kill becomes difficult to notice, remembering how the old lady at the Wisteria house suddenly appeared behind him without him being able to notice. He then reasons that if he battled a demon without showing the intent to kill, it would be easy to kill them. But Tanjiro believes it impossible to kill a demon without showing any kind of intent. Despite remembering it as a childish conversation, Tanjiro notes interesting points within it and tries to use them in the current battle against Akaza. He believes Akaza does sense something in his opponents, and that gives him the edge in combat, but Tanjiro cannot figure out what it is. He tries to think how he can interfere with the destructive death compass needle. Seeing Akaza open from Giyu's blow, he attempts to use his Hinokami Kagura, flame dance on the upper moon's exposed neck, but Akaza catches the blade without seeing it. As a shocked Tanjiro watches helplessly, Akaza mocks him for his open flank and uses his other hand to strike Tanjiro's stomach, but only manages to cut him slightly. At that moment, Tanjiro figures out the entire situation. Tanjiro remembers how his father seemed like a plant. He had never shown any emotional outburst and was always gentle, maintaining his demeanor until his death. Whenever Tanjiro remembers him, he immediately pictures his soft smile smile and calming voice. Tanjiro recalls a question he asked his dad about what he thinks when he performs the Hinokami Kagura. Even as a child, Tanjiro knew that the dance involved performing all 12 moves from night till dawn continuously, worried about his frail body. Tanjiro asked if he could be the one to do it next year. Tanjiro thanked his son for his concern, but brushed aside his worry, stating that in his later years performing it, he hasn't felt tired. He remembers learning it from his own father, but he knew that even when he was younger and healthier, doing it exhausted him greatly. He figured out that although the forms had useless moves, what mattered was using the correct breathing and movements, as well as releasing all your strength through minimal movement. Tanjiro stated that by doing this, your mind becomes invisible. But to properly do so, he had to find his movement and sensations, utilize all his senses, and gain complete awareness of his body. He told his son that by doing all of this, he could learn to remove unneeded parts of the Hinokami Kagura and learn just to do what is necessary and close off everything else. Tanjiro asked how he could do everything else, and his father responded by saying, "It's like people closing their eyes to hear better. His body will adapt and their movements will become natural." Tanjiro told him that when his mind becomes invisible, he will see into the transparent world. But this is the end, as his body would have reached its absolute limit. An amazed Tanjiro asked if he could do it as well, and he was told that he could by working hard and not slacking off. An incident happened 10 days later, before Tanjiro's death. A bear had come to the mountain, killing and devouring people. As the Kamado family slept through a blizzard, Tanjiro suddenly awakened and got up, after which he asked his sleepy elder son to accompany him. As Tanjiro and Tanjiro wandered outside, the two encountered the very bear, which was standing over 2 meters tall and was already believed to have killed at least 6 people. A frightened Tanjiro watched his father confront the bear with only an axe and his frail body. Tanjiro apologized for its hunger, but warned the creature that coming any closer would mean facing him. He told the bear that if anything tried to harm his family, he would show no mercy and take its life. As the bear roared and lumbered forward to kill him, Tanjiro swung his axe and leaped up, decapitating the bear before it could move a step forward. As its giant head dropped to the ground, Tanjiro tried to piece together what had just happened. In that instant, Tanjiro would have had to swing twice to get completely through its neck, and with his sense of smell, he realized Tanjiro never wavered in the slightest. He had no hesitation, no fear, no intent to kill. With his plant-like presence, he simply killed it. Tanjiro looked behind and asked if his son had witnessed what happened. A shaken Tanjiro confirmed he saw what took place and ran to hug his father as he told his son to never forget what he saw. Tanjiro looked back and realized that this moment was a form of training his perception. He was supposed to learn to see into the transparent world, just like his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather before him. They would have had to learn in this way. He finally understood his father's words and thought back to when he managed to suddenly dodge Akaza's strike earlier that seemed like it was about to connect. Though it would have surely killed him, he managed to somehow escape. For just a slight moment, when Akaza grabbed his blade and it was poised to swing, Tanjiro had entered that transparent world, seeing Akaza's muscles through his body as he did to Hantengu, managing to close off his other senses to dodge something completely unavoidable. His body became even faster. He apologized to Inosuke for doubting him, and Tanjiro steeled his resolve that while Giyu battles Akaza, he will use his newfound power to his best ability and beat the Demon King Muzan. Having seen the transparent world momentarily, Tanjiro realizes his own movement and speed have increased greatly. He is able to see how Akaza's body reacts in battle and concludes he may be able to behead him if he removes his battle spirit completely to avoid his senses. Akaza begins to overwhelm Giyu, the latter having used all of his water-breathing forms, only for Akaza to immediately adapt to all of them. The Upper Moon decides to finally kill him, commending the Hashira for lasting this long in battle. As Tanjiro attempts to enter the selfless state, Giyu tries to strike the demon's head directly. Akaza responds by using the side of his fist to break Giyu's Nichirin sword without getting harmed. As Giyu becomes stunned at having his sword broken, Akaza bids him farewell before crouching down to punch through his stomach. Suddenly, Akaza's hands fall off, saving Giyu from getting hurt, as Tanjiro has managed to enter the selfless state and bypass Akaza's compass needle. Giyu looks on at Tanjiro's new appearance and power. Akaza's body becomes stricken with uncertainty at Tanjiro's changed aura, so he deploys his final form. Technique development. Blue, silver, chaotic afterglow. Giyu looks at this new threat and is uncertain if he can negate it with his own dead calm. Tanjiro, however, having seen into the transparent world again, is able to detect the attack with his increased perception and vision. Giyu is unable to beat Akaza's new technique and is knocked back against the wall. The demon commends him for surviving such a large number of fatal blows and tells him not to die like Kyojuro or Tanjiro, instead become a demon. Giyu, the water Hashira, becomes confused, wondering how Akaza can state that he killed Tanjiro when Tanjiro is standing directly behind him. Realizing that Akaza might be unable to sense his partner, he mutters to Tanjiro to go for the neck now that Akaza is unaware. Tanjiro calls out to the upper moon and declares that he will decapitate him, annoying Giyu for announcing his attack out loud. Akaza retaliates by attempting to swipe the demon slayer's head, only for Tanjiro to duck down to safety. Suddenly, he notices he cannot sense anything, seeing Tanjiro is completely different from before with his battle spirit seemingly gone. Akaza tries to calm himself and believes that he will be able to sense an attack, but without warning, his head is sliced completely off by Tanjiro. Giyu is stunned at Tanjiro's sudden improvement. Akaza declares that this is impossible despite being beheaded by Tanjiro. He had never encountered someone who could remove their battle spirit, commenting that fighting Tanjiro felt like fighting a plant. Despite his senses and compass not working properly on the battlefield, anything unexpected can happen. He notices Tanjiro managing to surpass his own speed in a short amount of time, but with his eyes showing no intent to kill. Akaza believes Tanjiro has achieved the selfless state he so badly wanted to attain himself, something he believes he should have done by now. The upper rank tries to put his head back on top of his neck with the resolve to continue fighting. However, Giyu flings his broken sword at his head, knocking it away from his grasp. The upper rank repeats his drive to continue to get stronger as his head starts to disintegrate. Tanjiro becomes relieved, but immediately stiffens up due to his body hitting its limits. However, upon seeing Akaza's body not disintegrating, Giyu and Tanjiro worriedly look on. Akaza's headless body activates destructive death, compass needle again, and immediately attempts to hit Tanjiro's neck, though he barely misses. The demon changes stance and hits Tanjiro square on the side, knocking him away. Tanjiro realizes Akaza is trying to make his head no longer a weak spot, similar to Muzan earlier. He tries to get up but faints due to his body reaching its absolute limit. Giyu sees Akaza going for his unconscious comrade and uses water-breathing fourth form, striking Tide to stop him, though the cut instantly heals. Giyu then declares that if Akaza wants to kill Tanjiro, he would have to go through him first, and takes his stance to fight once again. Akaza sees his indomitable spirit, one that does not bend in the face of any obstacle. Suddenly, he sees the same man from earlier, who comments that they wield the sword in their hearts. The things they use are their fists. Calling the man an eyesore, Akaza moves forward to engage Giyu, but is internally held back by the vision of a young woman wishing Hakuji-san to just stop already. As Giyu readies himself to fight Akaza once more, he realizes the severity of the situation. His body has reached its limits, his senses are failing, and his body is numb. The only thing keeping him up is his breathing, calling it a miracle that he can continue battling despite the heavy toll on him. Now, Giyu focuses on protecting the unconscious Tanjiro, resolving never to let friends or family die on his watch again, knowing Tanjiro would do the same. The woman's spirit grabs Akaza, telling him not to go. Akaza tells her to go away, asking who she is. She carefully begs him to go to the other side, but he only responds that he must kill Tanjiro and Giyu. When asked why, Akaza's only answer is that he must get stronger. When she asks why he needs to get stronger, he answers, because if I don't, I won't be able to bring the medicine back for Dad. As Akaza's memories come flashing back, we dive into a flashback where Akaza was once known as Hakuji, an 11-year-old boy who stole money and food to keep his father alive. One fateful day, he was caught, beaten, and given tattoos to mark him as a thief. The village magistrate warned the boy his hands would be removed the next time he stole, only for him to say that they could cut them off as he still had his feet and would steal with those instead. The magistrate told him the beatings he received would cause a strong man to become numb, calling him a demon child for being able to handle it. The boy continued on, telling him to call him by that name, saying that he was born with fangs. After beatings and threats by the authorities, Hakuji walked home until a man informed him of terrible news. His father had heard he was caught once again and had hung himself in shame. While Hakuji was in the cemetery, he read the letter his father had written before his death. His father wrote, wrote, "Dear Hakuji, please live an honest life so that you can turn over a new leaf. I don't want to live off money that has been stolen from others, and I am sorry for being a nuisance." After reading the letter and finding his headstone, Hakuji tearfully grabbed it and grieved his father's death. He asked how his father could make peace with such people, finally cursing the world and telling it that everyone could just go to hell. Hakuji recalled his beatings for stealing money and how he could endure anything for his father, no matter how severe. He wondered why his father had hung himself, declaring he would have died for him. Eventually, he made his way to a village where he found 7 men and almost beat them to death, leaving them unconscious. Afterward, a martial artist came by, drawn by the news that a boy was about to be killed. Instead, he found that the boy had actually beaten the 7 men barehanded. Amazed at this feat, the man cheerfully asked if he would like to be a student, only for Hakuji to threaten him back. Hakuji tried to punch the man, but got beaten up by him. Later on, the man took the awakening Hakuji for a tour of his dojo, introducing himself as Keizo, a master who teaches the bare-fisted martial art called Soryu style. However, he didn't have a single student, so he made his living off handyman work. Keizo asked Hakuji to care for his sick daughter, a task his late wife used to do but had killed herself over due to its exhausting nature. Hakuji asked why he would leave his daughter with a criminal, only for Keizo to cheerfully remind him that he beat up the same criminal earlier, so it's not a problem. Keizo's happy demeanor reminds Akaza why he hates Tanjiro so much, because Tanjiro reminds him of Keizo, a figment of his boring and worthless past. As he continues to recall his past, he reaches the memory of where he first met Koyuki. Koyuki's sick appearance reminded him of his own father's. As Keizo went away to work, he left the two together. Koyuki saw Hakuji's injured face and asked if it hurt. Akaza cursed his human life, remembering the promises he made and failed to deliver. He declared his life worthless, filled with empty promises. Hakuji asked himself why sick people are always apologizing, remembering the time his father did so, and now Koyuki, who apologizes for not being able to train while he cares for her. Koyuki was born with a weak body and had to be attended to day and night. However, Hakuji was fine with the task, having previously cared for his ill father, and his resilient nature meant he never tired. He never felt like playing around anyway, and simply trained in his free time. Hakuji mentions there would be fireworks on display, and that he was willing to carry her to the bridge to watch with him. When Koyuki seems unsure, he reminds her of next year and the year after. This makes her begin to cry, somewhat annoying him that she would burst into tears mid-conversation. He believes she cries due to the depressing nature of her illness, while commenting that her crying made him feel uncomfortable. While Keizo and Hakuji share a drink at the well, the master mentions how their names are actually similarly structured to be based on a phrase meaning protect. Therefore, they must protect something. Keizo recalls how the dojo came to be. He says he had protected an old man with the surreal style of combat, and that man, amazed at the feat, had given him the land and place for the dojo. Later on, however, the nearby Kinjutsu dojo found out and began to harass the dojo, which led to him having no students. This was mitigated in Keizo's eyes by training Hakuji and caring for Koyuki, something that he said healed his heart. Years later, Hakuji turns 18 and Koyuki turns 16. In that time, Koyuki had gotten better and no longer needed to continually lie down. She was also now happy and bright. While cleaning the floors, Hakuji was summoned to the dojo and spoke with Keizo, who told him that he wanted to take over the dojo and casually mentioned how he could also have his daughter Koyuki as well, a statement which ends up shocking both of them. Hakuji never believed he could ever have a future as a criminal, much less a future as a husband with a wife. He remembers his father's letter to him and recalls this swelling feeling that his life could go anywhere, declaring now that he wants more than anything to protect Koyuki and Keizo, even at the cost of his own life. Hakuji travels back home to tell his father's grave about his marriage, but as he returns to the dojo, he suddenly begins to breathe heavily and a sinking feeling comes over him. There, someone informs him that the well they drank from was poisoned by the Kinjutsu dojo, killing Keizo and Koyuki. Seeing their bloodied, lifeless bodies on the dojo floor, Hakuji laments that he's never there to protect his loved ones in a crisis. He suddenly remembers a moment back when Koyuki came with him to watch the village's New Year fireworks. While there, Koyuki asked about the conversation they had about the fireworks when they were younger, something that he had forgotten, but something that she had never forgotten. When he was unable to watch them that year, he suggested the next one to her, or the year after that. She recalls when she didn't believe in herself living another year or so. Koyuki remembers when her mother killed herself, being unable to care for her any longer and believed in a way her father was tired of caring for her as well. She saw Hakuji casually asking if she was willing to see them next year, giving her hope of a future. Koyuki asks if he would like to be her husband, and Hakuji graciously answers, "Yes, I will become stronger than anyone else and protect you for my entire life." In the end, though, filled with rage and losing the people he loved once again, Hakuji went to the Kinjutsu dojo and brutally killed all 67 members inside using the Suryu style. He eviscerated their bodies. The dojo was found with crushed skulls, destroyed organs, brains, limbs, and eyeballs strewn throughout the building, all the corpses destroyed to the point they were unrecognizable as human bodies. The incident was so horrific and absurd that it was regarded as a fictional story before being erased from history. In the wake of the destruction, a bloodied and broken Hakuji encounters Muzan Kibutsuji. Muzan had heard about the carnage and mistakenly thought that he had sent a demon to do so, instead finding that a mere human had actually done it, leaving him somewhat disappointed. Hakuji threatened to kill him when the demon lord suddenly rushed forward and pierced his head with his hand before he could fight back. Muzan comments he was thinking about building a group of 12 powerful demons and asked Hakuji if he could withstand the amount of blood that he was about to be given. Hakuji declares to him that he no longer cares about anything anymore and transformed into the demon Akaza then and there. Akaza recalls losing his human memories in the wake of turning into a demon, but continued to have the drive to get stronger and stronger, though in reality he had nothing left to protect. In the end, Akaza comments that his life was nothing more than a pathetic, comical, uninteresting story. As Akaza laments that he cannot go to heaven like his father, Keizo, and Koyuki, he becomes furious that Tanjiro and Giyu have reminded him of his painful past. He curses humans as weak, soft, and brittle, believing they die right away and disappear into nothing. Suddenly, Tanjiro awakens from his ordeal, shocked at how he fainted mid-battle. As Akaza begins to regenerate his head, he starts to deploy his annihilation technique, but Tanjiro yells at him to stop. The demon is shocked that Tanjiro has managed to survive his kick. Tanjiro declares he will behead Akaza again and again until they win. Tanjiro's sword ignites with the fire of the Hinokami Kagura, but his sword slips out of his grasp, forcing Tanjiro to punch Akaza's face instead. The punch reminds Akaza of when he first met Keizo, making him remember why he hates weak people. Weak people never fight face to face. They poison wells and are impatient. He also killed these weak people with his fists and suddenly realizes that throughout his life as a demon, he turned his master's fighting style into a bloody weapon and never respected his father's last words. He finally realizes who he must truly kill. As Tanjiro panics about his lost sword and sees Akaza about to use the same technique that killed Rengoku, he suddenly notices Giyu in the attack range. Though Giyu tells him not to worry about him, Tanjiro grabs Giyu and throws both of them out of the technique's path. Suddenly, he sees Akaza smiling slightly, followed by an immense explosion. The attack leaves the surroundings devastated, as well as Akaza's body now a broken, bloody mess. Wondering why Akaza would attack himself, Tanjiro smells a scent of gratitude coming from the corpse and asks himself why Akaza had smiled before self-terminating. The body begins to regenerate, but Akaza stops the process, telling himself that the fight is over and he had lost fair and square. He comments that Tanjiro had magnificent technique, anticipating and slashing before he could react. The broken body begins to walk away while Akaza's spirit comments that he would go to hell as a man. When he stops, to Tanjiro's confusion, his spirit meets with his father's. Asking if he was all right, his father comments yes, calling him Hakuji and thanking him. As he bows and crouches down, apologizing for being unable to fix himself, his head is held by Keizo's spirit. Keizo tells him that they would never abandon him no matter what, despite Akaza not being able to go to heaven with them. As he calls out for his master, Muzan appears, grabs his head, and scolds him, reminding him that he had to get stronger and continue fighting. With that, his body starts to regenerate again, even quicker. Akaza voices his will to keep his promise and get stronger, declaring once again that he will kill everyone. Suddenly, though, Koyuki touches his face, thanking Hakuji and saying that he has done enough. Though Muzan appears again, calling him Akaza once more, he overcomes Muzan's control and grabs Koyuki's spirit. On the verge of tears, appears as once again the human Hakuji. He tearfully apologizes for being unable to protect her, for not being there when she needed him, and for not being able to keep his promise. While he cries for forgiveness, Koyuki is glad that Hakuji had remembered them all, despite his long demon life, and returning as a human again. With her words, "Welcome back, my husband," Akaza stops his regeneration, and Tanjiro watches as his body finally fades into ash.